Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a look at the comic books I picked up for New Comic Book Day, October 30th, 2024. And first I'm going to start off with a couple issues that, one that came out last week and one that I think came out last week or recently. First we'll talk about Absolute Wonder Woman. And take a look at Absolute Wonder Woman last week, and I have to right that wrong. So I was able to, I bought it digitally. So you're welcome, Ruben. So here's my thought on Absolute Wonder Woman was it was the least intriguing of the three Absolute titles to me. So I kind of I was on the fence. And then when I was at this shop, they just had the foil. It was like $8. I was like, oh, I don't really want that. And then and then just kind of skipped it. And partially because when you think about the Trinity, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Batman and Superman have clear defined origin stories, and you start with that base, and then any variance from there, it's easier to kind of see the direction that the story is going. So I always thought Wonder Woman, her origin has been kind of in flux. There's different versions of it, so it never really has that one iconic, to me at least, never had that one iconic origin story that really you can latch onto and say, okay, definitive, this is how this character came to be. There's always elements that are the same, but not always the same. So anyway, so I did read it, and some other friends of mine told me that they really enjoyed it before I read it. So I was like, okay, well, this is maybe there's more there than I was thinking. But yeah, I read it, really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed Absolute Batman a little more. Just because, again, it's Batman. I saw what they were going with it. But that said, so the premise of Absolute Wonder Woman, it's written by Kelly Thompson, and the art is by Hayden Sherman. And not an artist I was familiar with. The premise of the story is that it's a friend of mine put it perfectly. It's a good nature versus nurture story. So you start off that Wonder Woman is essentially, she's raised in hell. So if you take this pure good character and raise her in this dark, desolate hellscape, what would she be like? And immediately you see when she's there as a baby, you see these demons, these creatures instantly take to her. Like, she can kind of calm them and soothe them, and so you kind of see that she innately has these good qualities about her that can kind of influence even the worst of beings. And I thought that was interesting. And then you see her then in present day, and you see she's definitely seems to be a more ferocious kind of a Wonder Woman, but it was good. I mean, the concept is there. I think there's a story to be told. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the direction that it's necessarily going in, but it was a good start for what this Absolute Universe is. This kind of darker, twisted version of the DC characters. So art was solid. It wasn't instantly, I don't want to say wowed. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I want to seek out more of this artist's work. Not bad, just it did what it was supposed to do. And I think at its strongest, there was some good action scenes. But one of the things that I thought it was strongest at, there was a double page spread where you see it's like stacked horizontal panels, and it's the progression of Wonder Woman, Diana, growing up in hell. And I thought that was a very impactful, emotional kind of spread that I really enjoyed. So will I continue reading it? I think this is one that I'm going to wait and read on the DC app or buy a trade down the road. I just feel like, I don't know that it has my interest. It's going to have my interest month to month. I think it's a solid start, but the question is, do I want to keep reading it? Eventually. I just don't think it's going to be the month to month good cliffhanger hook to keep me interested. So, but yeah, I'll wait to read it as a full story. But anyway, so that was Wonder Woman. And then the other thing I picked up this week is an issue. It's called The Sacred Damned. And this is a writer I was not familiar with. Let's see, the writer is Sabir Pirzada. and the artist is Michael Walsh. Now, Michael Walsh is the one who is drawing the Frankenstein series, and drawing and writing the Frankenstein series. And I picked this up mainly because I wanted to see something else that Michael Walsh was doing. And this is an interesting imprint within Image. It's the Horizon experiment, and what it is, what I found out after the fact, after I picked it up, which is so on. I mean, I think it's a good idea, but the premise is they're launching 5 #1 issues, and it's all different characters, and to see what sells, what takes off, and then continue stories from there. I believe. I don't think this is necessarily guaranteed to be ongoing or a mini. I think they're waiting to see what the sales dictate, what the interest is if the interest is there. And the concept is that their 5 one-shots are taking big kind of genre properties, and then having them be I'll put it this way: the example they used in the very beginning when they're explaining what the Horizon mission statement is that in casting James Bond, there was the talk of Idris Elba taking over the role of James Bond, and they made comments that would be great to see that happen, but if that does happen, is it going to be Idris Elba as a black actor as James Bond, and not necessarily a unique character experience? So the 5 concepts that they have on board or are planned: Chinese James Bond, which I think is the Manchurian. I think that was the comic that came out already. And then this is a take on a Muslim John Constantine. Then there's a family of werewolves with East African descent, an Evil Dead for black nerds, and a reverse Indiana Jones. Not really sure what a reverse Indiana Jones means, but I don't know. It starts off with there's this star football player. He's got his career ahead of him. He's gonna head to the NFL, and then he develops this sleep eating disorder where he just eats in his sleep, doesn't know what's going on. Starts off kind of mild, where he's just kind of at the refrigerator eating stuff in the middle of the night, and then it just gets to the point where he can't stop, and he doesn't know what's going on, and it gets pretty gruesome. He finds himself, he wakes up in the forest. He's eating a deer, and then it gains more and more weight, and then eventually he eats his girlfriend that he's sleeping next to, and that's pretty jarring. But I enjoy the kind of the grotesque art. I think it's his style. He seemingly has found a home in the horror genre. So yeah, it fits really well. So the character, he kind of is looking to get reformed, and that's where the Dr. Anaya Jibril is the professor of ethnography and the occult, and she kind of takes on his case and tries to figure out what's going on. She sees that immediately that he is possessed by a jinn, and they describe in here. It says there's a page in the issue where it's basically notes that from an interview with Dr. Anaya, and it says in the Islamic text, jinn are referred to as creatures made of fire as opposed to humans who are made of clay. In other words, we're made of different stuff than they are, which is why we don't see them or interact with them unless they want us to. The most famous jinn in Islamic lore is Satan, and in Western culture it would probably be the genie from Aladdin. But it's important to note that these are by no means simply just a Muslim concept. Reports of jinn predate Islam itself. So it's weaving in aspects of Islam and in a kind of natural way in talking about what would be a kind of I don't want basic, but a possession story. It's this guy who's possessed by something. So then it goes on. He takes the story from there, and she's trying to. You kind of quickly learn that she's just kind of using this Kyle, I think his name is, as bait to try to lure out not only the jinn that is possessing him, but also other jinn. So I think that's really cool. Like you see that she's not just this like I'm here to help you and that's it. You see that she's a little more complex. So it kind of reminds you of a little bit of a John Constantine character, which I think is cool. I enjoyed this. The art was very strong in it, and yeah, I mean, if there is going to be a second issue, I would definitely read that. But I don't know the way that the Horizon experiment is set up, or Horizon experiment, the way the Horizon experiment is set up. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but we'll see. At least I enjoyed the art. So, all right, next up is Batman: The Last Halloween, issue 2. Now this issue is, I talked about in the when I did the first issue. Each issue is going to be by a different artist, and this issue was the art was done by Klaus Janson, and it's somewhat what I feared would be. I don't know if I got in my own head that I wouldn't like this concept, but when you talk about the last Halloween, Tim Sale's visuals are a huge part of like what that universe and what that story is. So the first issue was Eduardo Risso, and his art I felt really nailed the tone of a Tim Sale story. It really gave you that vibe. It felt like I was reading, a continuation of the Long Halloween story. And here, Klaus Janson's art is not bad. It's not at all. It has a certain kind of Neil Adams flair to it. It's solid art. However, it kind of takes me out of the story because I don't have that same visual cues of the Long Halloween that I would want from this story. So the story is still good. I mean, I enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I could have or would have had, say, they just continued Eduardo Risso on the entire series, which I think is unfortunate. And all can be. I will probably continue reading this, depending on who the artists are. I'll give it a couple more issues to see if I can kind of get past that and see it more as a tribute to Tim Sale, which I mean I understand that's what this is. They're honoring what Tim had established. So I don't want to immediately say I don't want. It's hard to knock it for the thing that they can't change about it. Of course, this should, in the perfect world, this should be Tim Sale drawing the story, and unfortunately, that's not possible. So I do think it's good to have probably creators that want to be involved in this project and to honor Tim. So I feel like I understand why these decisions are being made, but just as a reader, as a cohesive one story, I would rather have Eduardo Risso doing the whole thing. But so I mean, it is what it is. I still enjoy the story. I do think that there's something here. I enjoy the return to talking about the holiday and so I I enjoyed it, but with some caveats. So we'll do another issue. I forget who the other artists are on the other future issues. So I mean I don't know. I'm torn. We'll see. We'll see. It's I feel like I'm being entirely unfair on something that is obviously not an ideal situation. So I think I don't want to be too harsh or too unfair on that, but I maybe would have wanted something a little different. So all right. So next we'll do let's do this one. Let's do Red Coat issue 7. Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch. This is so the first arc was issues 1 through 6, and then this is issue 7. So it's a bit of a break in the action, and I think the next story arc starts with issue 8. So this is kind of a one issue interlude essentially. Now, a big part of the first story arc was Simon Pure's partnership with a young Albert Einstein. And to show the lonely nature of a character who, an immortal character, this next issue, issue 7, is set in 1955. So this issue sees Simon Pure visiting his friend Albert Einstein, but at this point in time, Albert Einstein is an old man and he's dying. So it just really hits home that that lonely nature of the character who is immortal. And I feel like it was good to take this one issue and kind of highlight that aspect. So yeah, I really enjoyed this issue. There's a story there, but mainly the point is, it drives home what it's like to be an immortal. And yeah, I enjoyed that. So the next issue will kick off the next story arc. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. I enjoyed that. I've enjoyed that so far. Would recommend that to anyone. Next up, we'll do Knights vs. Samurai issue 2, written by the actor David Dasmalchian. I think it's Dasmalchian, and Feed Melee is on the art on this one. So I remember my critique for the first issue was that there was not enough samurai in the first issue. It was a lot of knights, and then they encounter the samurai at the end of issue 1, and then it kicks off their encounter in issue 2. And man, how do I want to say this? I think there are aspects of the art that I really enjoy in this comic, and there's some that is not so. It's mediocre, but there are some good facial expressions. I like the look of the samurai. I like some of the visual storytelling is good. There's some really fun dynamic pages. But I found the story to be kind of clunky. And it just, I don't know. Like I feel like when it's Knights versus Samurai, it seems like it should be pretty straightforward and pretty like, all right, this is what it is. It's Knights and Samurai and go. Now there was a Kickstarter that I backed, Knights versus Pirates a couple years ago. Art was by Chris Imber. And that was kind of like exactly what I wanted it to be. It was knights. It was Blackbeard versus King Arthur, and that's what it was. It had some fun story elements to it, but it just was mainly about mashing those two types of warriors against each other, and it provided some great visually dynamic art. So here, I'm still not clear on the story being told. It's not as straightforward as I would want it to be. I just want knights and samurais and fighting, and that's I like that there is. I commend them for trying to tell a different story. It's just I'm not quite sure that I understand the story that they're telling quite yet. So we'll see. I think it's a miniseries. I'll give it another issue or two and figure out where things are kind of fleshing out, and then we'll go from there. So all right. So last issue that I picked up this week, I did 2 copies of it. Wolverine Revenge. It's the normal edition and the red band edition. Now, normally I'm mainly doing this to compare the differences between the red band edition and the normal edition. And so this is Jonathan Hickman writing, Greg Capullo is doing the art. And Tim Townsend is inking, and so this I've had my commentary on this so far. I still don't know if it's the greatest use of Greg Capullo's talents. It is certainly solid art. I mean, I enjoy Greg Capullo's art, so he's not doing anything wrong here. I personally like when he can stretch his legs a little more. But there are some really cool there's some cool art in here, that's for sure. I don't want to take that away. But the difference is the red band concept is that there's some art in here that is more gruesome, more intense, and really there's 2 pages of art that are in the red band edition that are not in the regular edition, and that's the only difference. And they don't impact the story at all. They're just kind of like essentially they're gratuitous splash pages of violent images, and that's not bad. I think it's very, very gimmicky. I don't think there's no reason that you need to buy this Ray-Ban edition, and I think that Marvel should stop doing this. I think it's way too gimmicky, and if you're gonna have an artist you're gonna pay an artist to draw this stuff, just put it in the comic. Just have a comic be, if you want to be it for an older audience or whatever, just have it be that way. And I don't think it needs to be this 2 separate editions. I don't like it. Now, I mean, I'm partaking in it because I'm reading the story, but also I just wanted to add my 2 cents as to what I think about what they're doing. So the story itself, it's interesting because it was all about Wolverine's revenge, and there were, I think, 5 characters that he identified that he was gonna kind of like his hit list, and this issue reads like it's the last issue, and there's obviously I think it's a 5 issue miniseries. So there's 2 more issues, and I have no idea where the story is going because it feels like things are wrapped up at the end of this issue. So maybe like some wild, crazy surprises are coming, and that actually would be really amazing. I'd be on board for that. So yeah, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm reading this 5 issues. Like I said, I really enjoy Greg Capullo's art, and I think my nitpicks are really coming from the standpoint of like an uber fan of Greg Capullo's art. So I feel like that's maybe sometimes a little unfair that I'm saying, oh, it's not his strongest work because it's not him really doing a lot of heavy lifting as far as design work, and that's what I really enjoy about some of his recent projects. You know, I recently unboxed that page of art from the Reborn story. So you know, Reborn was a lot of great design work. We Have Demons. He did a lot of really cool design stuff. Allowed him to kind of design this whole new race of demons. That was, I thought, a really great story with some great art. And then you have, of course, Death Metal. Those are things that just played in the DC Universe sandbox, but just went kind of crazy with character designs. And it worked for everybody. I understand that. But I like seeing his take on those characters in those type of settings. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see where this one goes because I really have no idea where it's going. But you know, I am enjoying it. I know it sounds like it. Maybe I'm not, but actually, I am enjoying it. It's just I want a little more. That's all. So, all right, that's what I looked at this past week, and actually, I have no idea. I didn't look at what's out next week, so we'll see. This was kind of I think a slower week because it's I think the 5th week in the month. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching this one, and I will see you soon.